Good day, students, and welcome back to Buddy. Okay, so today we're going to start chapter 7, but let's just quickly review chapter 6 notes. Tanya had some dream, didn't she? She dreamed that Buddy died, but of course Buddy didn't die. Okay, thank goodness. But it was a crazy night with the storm and Grandpa T and T Jr. and Mama running around the house, and then you had baby Terrell crying. What a commotion, okay? But we also know that Tanya's a little jealous, perhaps, that little T got a dog and she doesn't have a pet. So that could be one reason why she dreamed that he died. But we know that Buddy is alive and well, okay? And now we're going to start chapter 7 and see how Buddy acclimates or gets used to his new neighborhood and his way of walking with 3 legs. Chapter 7. We can't let Buddy out of the shed that first day because everything is too wet. But come Saturday, I open that door in the morning and I say, "Today is your day, Buddy. Today you get to come outside." He pokes his nose out the door and his ears go prip, standing straight up on the top of his head. He looks around at the tree, waving its leaves, and at the top of the fence where the cat's claw vine is busting out with yellow flowers. And he starts barking up a storm, standing there with his nose pointing at the tree like he's trying to show me something. "That's just squirrels," I say. "Ain't nothing new." He's looking at me like he wants to make sure I know what I'm talking about. And then he starts exploring. He's got his own way of walking. His one back foot has to do double time to keep up with his 2 front feet. He's slow and wobbly, but he gets where he's going. First, he hobbles over to where the fence meets up with the shed, and he starts sniffing at the ground, poking his nose at every stick that fell out of the trees, cruising across that half-dead grass to check out the pecan tree, pushing a rotten old pecan along the ground. Then he snugs up next to the tree, walks in a circle twice, and lays himself down in a spot of dirt between 2 roots sticking up out of the ground. "Is that your place, Buddy?" I say. And he looks me in the eyes and goes, "Woof!" And I guess that means, "Yes, it is, and don't bother me when I'm laying here." About that time, Daddy bangs open the back door and leans halfway out. "It's Saturday," he yells. I know that. You know what it means? I can't help it. I roll my eyes. "Don't you roll your eyes at me." I ain't rolling my eyes. And I know I'm supposed to mow the yard, but there ain't hardly any grass. There's enough, and the front yard needs it bad. Well, ever since we moved into Grandpa T's house, cutting the grass has been my job. Grandpa T says that's half the reason he asked us to move in. He says after almost 40 years going around and around the same yard, he's tired of cutting that grass. He figures he's got a grandson who can do it. So it's time to turn over the reins. That first summer, he showed me how to gas up the lawnmower and run it back and forth so I don't miss any spots. At first, I couldn't pull the cord, and Grandpa T did it for me. But I finally got the knack, and I don't need anybody's help anymore. And I don't get anybody's help either. It's all on me. So I go over to the shed and roll out the lawnmower. Buddy perks up when he sees me. I'm guessing he probably didn't know that smelly old thing sitting in his house could move. While I'm gassing it up, he limps over and stands right smack up next to me, his mouth hanging open and his eyes watching what I'm doing with the gas can. He jerks his head back when he gets a little whiff of the fumes and then leans down to check out the wheels and sniff the dead grass still stuck on the sides. What's so interesting about this old lawnmower, Buddy? I say, and he looks up at me with his tongue hanging out and his tail wagging. When I start this thing up, it's going to blow your ears out and scare you to death. His tail just keeps on wagging. His mouth looks like he's grinning. And his eyes look like they've got little sparkles dancing around in them. So students, as you can see, Buddy's just so excited maybe to have another adventure. He sees little T starting up the lawnmower. That lawnmower's been sitting in the shed, for a couple of seasons, but now it's nearing, summer. It's time to mow the lawn. Buddy's more excited about it than little T, don't you think? Little T doesn't want to mow the lawn. Go on back to your place by the tree. Woof! I mean it, Buddy. Go on. And I fling out my hand and he starts to jump like he thinks I'm throwing something and whump! He falls over. Buddy! I'm squatting down to help him up, but before I get all the way down, he's standing up again and panting at me like he's waiting for me to do something. What do you want, Buddy? I say. He takes a step away from me, then he takes a step back toward me. He never stops looking at me. His eyes all bright and shiny, his mouth open, and his ears perked up. He wants you to throw a ball. I look up and there's Grandpa T in the back door. How do you know that? I use my eyes. I ain't got a ball. Baby Terrell does. Hold on a minute. Grandpa T heads in the house and I look down at Buddy. What do you know about chasing a ball? How come Buddy knows about chasing a ball? Getting a ball and bringing it back to its owner. I mean, if he was a stray dog, why does he want to play catch? Catch, Grandpa T says, and I look up. Before I can figure out what he's doing, Grandpa T's already thrown the ball toward the back fence, and Buddy's hobbling, because remember he's got 3 legs, to it the best he can. Buddy pokes around in the brush against the fence, and sure enough, he finds that ball and brings it straight back to me. Well, I'll be, I say, and take it from him. Somebody's taught him to play catch, Grandpa T says. He ain't a stray. He used to be somebody's pet. I look up. The back door slams, and Grandpa T is gone. It don't take me long to mow the yard. In the front, there are just little squares on either side of the sidewalk because Mom has got bushes and flowers up next to the house and along the fence. And the grass ain't hardly growing yet, with the oak tree next door putting so much shade on the yard. In the back, I get it all cut in about 2 passes while Buddy's standing just inside the shed, barking. When I get the lawnmower all parked again, I pick up the ball and throw it. Sure enough, Buddy goes after it and brings it back. I throw it again. He brings it back. It's wet with slobber. His sides are heaving. When he tries to draw a breath, he's like, I lift up my hand to throw the ball again, but he heads on over to the pecan tree and sits down. Okay, because Buddy can only do so much at this point. Remember, he's just recovering from getting his leg amputated, and he did have some fun, but now he's out of breath and he's got to take it easy. I sit still beside him and we listen to the sounds all around us. The squirrels are chucking in the bushes and the birds are chirping their warnings to each other. There are kids playing in the next block. There are air conditioners running. There are cars and trucks in the streets. The tree frogs are singing in the trees, and the people are talking when they walk by. There are sirens that beep, beep sound when working trucks back up. Buddy lays his head on my leg, and I start rubbing him. I touch that old caterpillar scar, and he closes his eyes. Where did you get that, Buddy? I say, and his tail goes flip just once. Did you run away? I say. Were they mean to you? The end of his tail flicks a little in the dust. Or did they just leave you in the street one day? I rub my hand all the way down to Buddy's cut off leg. He don't even twitch. I've heard about people doing that. What kind of people would just leave their dog like that? Somebody walking down the street is yelling into his cell phone. Buddy looks up for a second, then puts his head back down. They didn't love you like I love you, Buddy. All of a sudden, a squirrel goes galloping along the top of the fence. Buddy's up and barking before I can move. He's stepping all over me, and his claws are scratching my legs, and then, wham! Down he goes, right in my lap. By the time he gets himself straightened up, that squirrel is all the way at the top of the pecan tree. Buddy's panting in my face and looking up in the tree like he's wondering what I'm planning to do about that squirrel. And I'm laughing myself silly. You crazy old dog, I say, and hug him up around the neck. Can't nobody ever love you like I love you. Woof, Buddy says. Woof, woof. And I swear that dog smiles. Okay, so students, this is very sweet, okay? So of course, Buddy's gonna get all excited about a squirrel and wanna chase the squirrel, and he's getting back to himself. Little T's learning about dogs and how they wanna play catch and how they're curious about squirrels. And they're really bonding, Buddy and Little T. And if you notice in this chapter, Little T tells Buddy that he loves him very much, numerous times, see? And he thinks that the dog is smiling back at him. Let's look at chapter 7 notes. So the setting really takes place at Little T's home outside in the yard. So that is the setting for this chapter, okay? Let's look at the important plot points. Buddy walks, really hobbles around the yard and explores his new territory. And Grandpa T teaches him how to play catch. Or plays catch with him because Grandpa T realizes that's what Buddy wanted to do. Little T has the responsibility of mowing the lawn, so we learned that. We also learned that Buddy may have been someone else's pet, before they found him on St. Mark Avenue when Daddy hit him. But we know that Buddy was definitely astray for quite some time because of how thin he was. Little T talks to Buddy and asks him questions, and Little T tells Buddy that he loves him. There is an external conflict. Daddy and Little T disagree about the need for the lawn to be mowed. The conflict is actually resolved in this chapter because Little T mows the lawn. And here's some important quotes. And I'm laughing myself silly. You crazy old dog, I say, and hug him around the neck. Can't nobody ever love you like I love you. Woof, Buddy says. Woof, woof. And I swear that dog smiles. Okay, here's the stop and jot question. Yay! Remember, you're going to open it up on a Google form and then remember to turn it in. Some of you are answering the question, you're not turning it in, and then I have to go and search for it, okay? Stop and jot. Little T had to mow the lawn, even though he thought there wasn't enough grass on the lawn to cut. Describe a time when you had to do a chore and didn't see the need for it to be done. Okay, so it's not like you didn't want to do it, you just didn't think it was necessary. Okay, so describe a time when you were asked to do something around the house or do a chore. Describe it. And it was because you didn't think it needed to be done at that point. Okay, so that's that. I will see you for chapter 8.